In fact, the M1 is arguably the world's first truly sensible, usable, European mid-engine exotic.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the most iconic vehicles to ever come off the assembly line.
But this is such a special car. It's so rare. They only built over 150 of them, around 150.
Number 20, Toyota Supra MK4. The first generation of the Toyota Supra dates all the way back to the late 1970s. It could be argued, however, that the MK4 model that arrived in 1993 broke the proverbial mold.
Introducing the revolutionary new Toyota Supra.
There was an increased focus on performance this time around, more than ever before, in fact. The MK4 was lighter and shorter, with a design that was perfect for road racing. Elsewhere, this Supra was also powerful and efficient on the road, a masterful meeting of planning, engineering, and execution. This was indeed the real deal. Number 19, Jaguar E-Type. There were a number of Jaguar models that were considered for this list. The C-Type certainly comes to mind, but it's the Jaguar E-Type that ultimately makes our cut. These models were produced between 1961 and 1974 and are remembered today as a perfect storm of sorts.
It was just groundbreaking, and I think it's always been something that people have lusted after.
These cars looked great, handled wonderfully, were well constructed, and were even priced right for their day. The Jaguar E-Type possesses a legacy of excellence that's difficult to deny, while their beautiful lines and sleek design lend them the reputation as one of the most gorgeous cars to ever roll off an assembly line.
No car before ever caused such a stir, and no car has since, really.
Number 18, Chevrolet Corvette Stingray Coupe. The Chevy Corvette is a name that's virtually synonymous with cool. The second-generation Stingray Coupe that was produced from 1963 to 67 are practically outstanding, however, thanks to an increased focus on handling to coincide with horsepower. The 1967 Stingray in particular arrived lightweight and with all of the various upgrades that Chevy tinkered with over the course of 4 years. The end results were an iconic American sports car that could seriously move, while also embodying power and great looks. They say that a classic never goes out of style, and that old adage definitely applies with the Chevy Stingray. Number 17, Ferrari Daytona. It's a clashing name, sure, but the Ferrari Daytona was something of a rock star within the car world. That's because variations of this car have appeared on everything from television shows like Miami Vice to movies like A Star is Born and album covers from artists like the Carpenters. Here was a car that virtually defined the Ferrari brand during the 1970s. A speedy and efficient sportster with tons of get up and go, with a look that never skimped on style. There's a reason, after all, why the name Ferrari is a legend, and it's in part to cars like the Daytona.
It's absolutely sublime.
Number 16, Alfa Romeo 33 Stradale. Italy's Alfa Romeo brand is another brand with a number of iconic cars to its name. The 8-cylinder Competizione was totally killer, but it's the Alfa Romeo 33 Stradale that just might be one of the best examples of the company's excellence.
There are many people who would say this is one of the greatest looking cars ever made.
The 33 Stradale was fast with a capital F, with the very word itself, Stradale, translating from Italian into the phrase road going. This car wasn't cheap, but those that could afford the 33 Stradale from Alfa Romeo received a car with dangerous curves that could go, go, go. Number 15, Pontiac Firebird Trans-Am. The Firebird brand from Pontiac produced 4 different generational models of the Trans Am over the course of over 3 decades.
The Firebird continues the F-car reputation of being the best handling car made in America.
Today, the car is remembered as perhaps the definitive American muscle car. The Pontiac Firebird Trans-Am was a loud, fast, and powerful car that fed into American drivers' hunger for performance and speed. Kit from TV's Knight Rider was one of the coolest Trans-Ams to ever hit the road, further solidifying the brand's iconic status.
Boy, those guys did a nice job. There's not a ripple on it.
Alas, nothing lasts forever, and the Pontiac Firebird Trans-Am faded off into the sunset in 2002. Although die-hard fans will always have their memories.
I can't believe this. A car that talks back to me.
Take it easy. Don't let the sound of your own
Number 14, DMC DeLorean. It's perhaps the easiest softball entry on this list. A car whose easily distinguishable look and design forever cemented it within the 1980s cultural zeitgeist. Let's forget for a moment that the DMC DeLorean was never known for its performance or quality craftsmanship.
Good Lord!
Let's also ignore the chaotic history behind former General Motors man John DeLorean and the company that bore his name. Instead, the DMC DeLorean lives on forever thanks to its inclusion in one of cinema's most beloved films, Back to the Future.
Let's see if you bastards can do 90.
The vehicle's gull-wing doors frankly made it seem more futuristic than it actually was, but you know what? We wouldn't want it any other way.
I mean, it's relatively controllable, but on the public road, good God.
Number 13, Shelby Mustang GT350 and GT500. A number of specific models come to mind when considering the enviable legacy of the Shelby Mustang. This collaboration between Shelby American and the Ford Motor Company hit particular pay dirt with their GT500 and GT350 models from 2007 and 2015, respectively.
It is a likeable car. It's a good-looking car. The power is always intoxicating.
The GT500 received the distinction of portraying the new kit for NBC's brief reboot of Knight Rider.
Please step away from the car, or I will be forced to take defensive measures.
Meanwhile, its third-gen model from 2020 and beyond showcased even more speed, power, and torque. The GT350, for its part, was tailor-made for the track, featuring ace handling and sleek design concepts that looked great as they whizzed by you at blinding speeds.
All the work the engineers have done really pays off when you're here in the driver's seat.
Number 12, AC Shelby Cobra 427. Shelby American returns once again with the AC Cobra 427 from 1965. This classic muscle car tried and succeeded in combining the American desire for power and speed with a European look and precision handling. The end results were tailor-made for this swinging decade of change, and the AC Shelby Cobra 427 delivered the goods when it came to harmonizing style and substance.
Well, there are so many replicas out there. It's fascinating to see one exactly as it left the factory.
There was over 400 horsepower under the hood of the 427, yet this Cobra hugged the roads like an old friend, burning rubber ahead of the competition. Said quite simply, the AC Shelby Cobra 427 was badass. Maybe one of the most badass cars to ever be produced. Full stop.
Almost 55 years old, but still impressive.
Number 11, Lancia Stratos.
What a fantastic car!
Rally racing is the name of the game when it comes to the Stratos from Lancia. What else might one expect from the Italian race car market? One of the most famous in the entire world. The Lancia Stratos was a dominant force on the racetrack, hugging corners and winning awards with speed and precision. It doesn't really matter that this wasn't a car you'd see on everyday roads. The Lancia Stratos meant business and demanded that you get out of the way or risk eating their literal dust.
This is one of the best cars ever made.
Number 10, Aston Martin DB5.
It is arguably the dream car of the 1960s.
Yes, it's that Aston Martin. Designed by Carrozzeria Touring Superleggera, 1,059 DB5s were built between 1963 and 1965, with the overwhelming majority of those being 2x2 coupes. 123 were convertibles, but rarest of all was the shooting brake or wagon model, which was made for Aston boss David Brown himself. Regardless of body shape, the DB5 was powered by a 4-liter, triple-carbureted, straight-six with a top speed of 143 miles or 230 kilometers per hour, and a 0 to 60 mile per hour time, 8 seconds. Base models could boast 282 horsepower and 280 pounds per feet of torque, but the less common Vantage variant had a full serving of 315 horsepower pulling on the reins.
This is quite possibly the most famous car in the world.
No, it is the most famous.
Number 9, BMW M1.
Universe. But in 1978, an unlikely name threw their hat into the ring with a car that has since become as exotic and legendary as anything with a horse or bull on the hood.
This unique beast of the BMW family, the M1, is also among the rarest. Birthed from a brief union between BMW and Lamborghini, the M1 was intended to be BMW's ticket to on-track success and a race car for the streets. Like a Lambo, the M1 was mid-engined, but that engine was a 3.5-liter twin-cam fuel-injected straight-six, rather than Lamborghini's pride, the V12. It may have half the cylinder count, but with 273 horsepower and a top speed of 162 miles or 260 kilometers per hour, it was no slouch. Turbocharged, full racing versions, meanwhile, could hit a stately 850 horsepower.
Simply get in, turn the key, and drive.
Number 8. Porsche 911 Carrera RS 2.7.
I am not a car. I'm much more than that.
In striving to create a racing car, Porsche managed to create one of their most iconic and desirable cars of all time. Using the 911 as its base, every inch of the car was dedicated to racing. From the beefier brakes, wider rear end and rear wheels, and stiff suspension, to the hate it or love it ducktail spoiler. It was also lightweight at just 2,370 pounds, or 1,075 kilograms. The sport lightweight version, meanwhile, was naturally lighter still, at 2,150 pounds, or 975 kilograms. This, combined with a fuel-injected 210 horsepower, 2.7-liter six-cylinder engine, made the Carrera RS a rocket. And at just shy of 1,600 units, it's a rare and legendary rocket at that.
Come and catch me, if you can.
Number 7. Lamborghini Countach. Made from 1974 to 1990, the Countach kick-started the entire wedge-shaped revolution.
This car looks this shocking today. Imagine what it looked like back in 1971.
Powered initially by the same 4-liter engine as the Miura, Lamborghini continued improving the power plant until it became a fuel-injected 5.2-liter, 414-horsepower fire breather. The final take on the Countach, the 25th anniversary model, had a still respectable 0 to 60 time of 4.7 seconds and a top speed of 183 miles per hour, or 295 kilometers per hour. With its sharp lines, scissor doors, and optional massive rear wing, it looked fast even when parked, and was instant pinup material.
Your senses being bombarded by so many other things that you just don't notice how fast you're going, really.
Number 6. Ferrari F40. By the mid-'80s, Ferrari had pretty much perfected their mid-engine, rear-drive, go-fast recipe, and that perfection came in the form of the F40.
This was the last car blessed by Enzo Ferrari.
Powered by a twin-turbo 3-liter 471-horsepower V8, the car was the last one personally approved by founder Enzo Ferrari. Made of a mix of Kevlar, carbon fiber, and aluminum, the F40 was a stripped-down, low-weight, high-power machine built with the goal of breaking the 200-mile-per-hour barrier. Coated with just enough paint to hide the carbon fiber weave, the F40's body was shaped not only for style, but for aerodynamics, and to channel cool air to its vital organs. In the end, Enzo's legacy has been cemented in this supercar masterpiece.
That's why I like Ferrari always builds the ultimate of whatever it is they're trying to build.
Number 5. McLaren F1. With its unusual center-forward driving position and an ultra-sleek design, the McLaren F1 was always going to be an attention-getter, and it had the goods to be more than just a head-turner.
The McLaren F1 is the dream concept of its designer, Gordon Murray.
Using expensive and unlikely materials for weight relief, including gold, magnesium, Kevlar, carbon fiber, and titanium. The F1 was not only lightweight, it was near perfectly balanced. It was also seriously fast. Using a 6.1-liter BMW V12, the standard F1 recorded a top speed of 231 miles per hour, or 371 kilometers per hour. A record speed that held until the arrival of the Bugatti Veyron in 2005. Even today, long after it entered production in 1992 and left it in 1998, very few cars can keep up with, let alone pass, the F1. Number 4. Mercedes 300 SL. Most road versions of race cars are turned-down lookalikes with a few intimidating badges and a lot less power. The 300 SL did things differently. It actually had a slightly more powerful engine than the racer it was based on. Where the carbureted racing version got 175 horsepower, the street-legal fuel-injected 300 SL got 215 horsepower. And at 160 miles or 258 kilometers per hour, it was the fastest production car in the world in 1954. Plus, with its old-world classy curves and its trademark gull-wing doors, the 300 SL was simply gorgeous, whether it was creeping up in your mirror, passing you, or parked in your driveway. Number 3. Ford GT40.
7-litre, 200-mile-an-hour monster that won Le Mans 4 times on the trot.
Based in equal measure on the Lola MK6 and Henry Ford II's desire to beat Ferrari, the Ford GT40 was a legend from the first green flag. Using a blend of British engineering and American horsepower, the GT40 not only won Le Mans in 1966, it claimed second and third as well for a full podium sweep, and it would carry on winning the annual race until 1970, due to its limited numbers, with just 7 road-ready MK3s being built. GT40s can command an outstanding price on the collector's market, such as the $11 million paid for a 1968 model formerly owned by Steve McQueen.
It isn't even as high as my legs.
Number 2. Lamborghini Miura.
This is the origin of Lamborghini as we know it today.
Prior to the Miura, Lamborghini was known for making quick cruisers and grand tourers. After the Miura, they were known for sleek, bold designs and ridiculous amounts of speed. The exact type of car Ferruccio Lamborghini never wanted to make, the Miura was designed by his engineers when he wasn't looking.
They didn't realize it at the time, but those 7 impetuous young engineers were about to spark a revolution.
It would be the last time a Miura failed to catch a look. Using Lambo's trusty 3.9-liter 345 horsepower V12 and a then revolutionary mid-engine layout, the Miura could achieve a 171 miles or 276 kilometers per hour top speed. With this, the Miura became the world's first true supercar. And in true supercar fashion, it was as pricey as it was fast, costing $20,000 in an era of $2,000 cars.
As a car, it was flawed, but as a concept, it was truly a masterpiece.
Before we unveil our top pick, here are a few honorable mentions. 1936 Bugatti Type 57 SC Atlantic, a rare and OG supercar. Duesenberg Model J, luxury personified.
$2.15 million.
Audi Quattro, rally car excellence. Mercedes-Benz SSK, pioneer of speed and performance from the Golden Age.
And this car was built in 1928. This was also the first model year to carry the Mercedes-Benz logo on the radiator that we know today.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into settings and switch on your notifications. Number 1. Ferrari 250 GTO. While the 250 California was made for winding roads and warm Pacific days, the 250 GTO was made to savagely beat Cobras, Jaguar E-Types, and Aston Martins on the track. Based upon the short-wheel base 250 GT, this 250 got an ultra-aerodynamic body and a Le Mans-proven 3-liter V12 loaded with 6 Weber carburetors. Less than 50 GTOs were built, and they were sold only to buyers personally selected by Enzo Ferrari himself. The $18,000 required to take Enzo up on his invitation proved to be an excellent investment. Today, GTOs can command millions, like the $38 million paid for Sterling Moss's former GTO. What's your dream car? Let us know in the comments.
There are faults with it, but you look at it and there just sort of aren't.
Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.